Filip Hrgovic versus Daniel Dubois. Quite an interesting fight between these two heavyweights. We've seen these two on the cusp of world titles. Hrgovic's been the IBF mandatory for a long, long time. Dubois has come short at the highest levels, but he's still got youth on his side as well with Dubois. He's still only about 25, 26, which I find crazy because it feels like he's been around for ages. With this one, potentially the IBF title on the line as they're looking to obviously, split the titles from the undisputed status of Usyk, and the IBF may put this on the line. Hrgovic is under the impression that it is on the line for this fight. Firstly, is this a world title worthy fight?
Um, it's a step below it. Whatever that layer we want to call it, it is below it. I'm not going to call it um intermediate. I'm not going to call it interim or any of this shit. It's just the level below it. Um, Herkovic is a tough fighter. He's very good. I've seen him live on a number of occasions and everywhere from Latvia to Germany and you name it. And he's got a good following, but he's a good fighter. He's got a good amateur pedigree to him as well. Um, I think he'll have the making of Dubois in this one. I think it might not only just beat him, but he could possibly stop him as well. Danny's got a bit of a fragile chin, as we've seen. And with Usyk, for example, he systematically broke him down. Now, I'm not comparing Hrgovic to Usyk, but he does have some tricks up his sleeve, and I think that his little toolkit might be just a little bit too much for Daniel. Yeah, Daniel's had 22 fights, and I know what you mean in terms of he's only 25, but he looks like he's been around the block for a while. He does. I've known Daniel since he was 17, and when he sort of was turning pro, I remember going down to the Peacock gym and Martin Bowers putting him through his paces. He said, "You look at this kid. He was already about 6'4" at that point, maybe even just under 6'5", and he was very very hard hitting. He was doing the circuits, all the rumors of knocking down everybody of Joe Joyce and Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury even. But the sparring in the ring and the fighting in the ring and sparring in the gym are two totally different things. So it's crazy how systems get manipulated and people get put onto pedestals. And Joe Joyce beats Daniel Dubois systematically, smashes his eye up, and the next fight, Daniel Dubois managed to get himself a section, the lowest grade section of the world title by way of the WBA regular title. What the hell happened there? I mean, it should have been Joe Joyce's stepping stone in there, albeit it was a Don King production. I doubt Daniel Dubois probably even seen the money of that yet. It's probably like £1 a week for the next 6 millenniums. But yeah, I think it's a great fight. It's exactly the sort of fight that everyone wants to see. They are just below that world level, that clear um, capability of winning a world title. But whoever wins this, if they win it emphatically, 100% they deserve to go in there. I mean, I think I'd like to see probably more Daniel Dubois going against Fury because he's already fought Usyk. I don't see any change in that result. But if he's got a chance to put a dent in someone, it could be Fury if he was to win this fight, which I don't think he will. And I really hope he does, but I just don't think he's got the toolkit to beat Hrgovic.
Hrgovic just a little bit too cute for Dubois.
Yeah, he's got a little bit too much in the toolkit. He does a little sneaky lean backs. He works well off the ropes, counters well. You can just see that amateur pedigree. It's something that Daniel misses in there. He didn't have the most extensive of amateur pedigrees, albeit he started boxing when he was young. But Hrgovic, he's won the big medals, at the Olympics, etc. And to get to that level, you have to be very good technically. And I think that's what's gonna separate the two when they're in the ring is Hrgovic's technical capabilities versus Dubois' raw power, and he'll use that power against him. He will counter, like I said, the sneaky little lean backs and then countering from that. His lateral movement's better, a little bit more fluid with his punches in terms of putting them together as well. And he's got a bit of sting in those punches, not as heavy-handed as Daniel, but Daniel's a little bit more maybe how can I put it predictable. Jared Miller, people are talking about how he, dispatched Miller. Miller was breathing through his ears from about the sixth rounds. I mean, come on, the man weighed like 900 pounds. He's doped up to his eyeballs, and fair play Daniel to going in there and giving him his first stoppage. But that wasn't much competition. It really wasn't. This is a tough test. More for Daniel than Hrgovic, but I guarantee you, Hrgovic, the second it was announced, would have been going into deep training camp, and he would have had some heavy-handed sparring partners in there to try and mimic exactly what Daniel does.
If the IBF world title is on the line, as we're expecting it to be, there's a talk of a potential fight down the line in September, Wembley Stadium against Anthony Joshua. Now, that's a big money fight. That's a big prize and a big carrot dangling in front of both these fighters. How much motivation will that add to this for both men?
Huge, huge. If it's at Wembley, every boxer in there, it's certainly Daniel Dubois and Hrgovic, probably hoping that that's going to be bankrolled by Turkey, because a good old Uncle Eddie and Uncle Frank, as lovely as they ain't got those sort of cash books to be able to inflate the paychecks. And Daniel's one of, I think, 11 kids, and he's kind of been a bit of a breadwinner, for the family in recent years. Caroline's going to do very well, and she's going to bring in the cash. Um, Phenomenal fighter, just to say on a side note there. But if Daniel's to go in there and get, say, for example, a $20 million, even, never mind pounds, $20 million deal, and they can clear, say, a quarter of that, clear, that could be life-changing cash. So the motivation to go in and fight against someone like Joshua is huge. And I think a Daniel Dubois Joshua fight would be a cracker. I'd enjoy to see that more than I would Hrgovic Joshua, because you're looking at two very hard-hitting guys. It's going to be a case of whoever hits first goes over. And both of them have got the fragility of, when they do get hit on the chin, they can go. So I'd love to see that fight. And there's the whole thing about, Dubois knocking Joshua down when they were sparring. And obviously that's going to be thrown into the sort of, the pre-fight ambles and all that. But yeah, if Hrgovic goes in there against Joshua, again, technically I'd say Hrgovic has got more to bring to the table. Tricky fighter, very tricky fighter. So that'd be very, very tight in terms of the bookies odds. But yeah, listen, these are all mouth-watering prospects. And if it, dare I say that, in the last sort of couple of years where I've been slagging off Saudi Arabia as the place not to go and see world title fights, I've got to say, if it wasn't for Turkey, we wouldn't be having these big ones right now. In all the weight divisions, he is what people are saying. What about this person fights that person? Right, I'll get a purse of money out, and the next thing, bang, it's happening. So yeah, hats off to him. Is I guess maybe his love of the sport, or whether it's partly to put Saudi on the map, whatever it is working, and boxing is winning.
Absolutely. Filip Hrgovic claims he will retire if he can't beat Daniel Dubois. Is that just talk, or is it another layer of unnecessary pressure putting upon himself, or does he really see the levels between the two?
It's bullshit. Hrgovic will carry on fighting as long as the money keeps coming in. He hasn't made enough money yet. He hasn't fought big enough names yet. So no crap. He's just saying that to sort of try and make Danny Dubois look shit, and sort of saying, "Oh, if I can't beat Danny Boy, then I've got to hang the gloves up." Bullshit. He gets beat if he does get knocked out by Danny, and the next thing they're like, "Do you fancy fighting Ngannou for 10 mil?" He'll be like, okay, yeah, of course you fucking will." You know what I mean? So and so in any other big heavyweight with those sort of paychecks running around. But both fighters need to make a good impression here. They need to do something a little bit special. And if they impress Turkey in any way, then he keeps them close, and he brings them on for the next fight. So what we have noticed with this guy is that it kind of reminds me of the heyday of the 70s heavyweights, where you had the likes of, say, George Foreman, Ken Norton, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, etc. And they were fighting each other. Not sometimes it wasn't for title fights, and the likes of, say, George Foreman against Ron Lyle, these sort of fights. Some of the best heavyweight shootouts in history haven't been for titles, and at the moment we're starting to benefit from the fact that belts don't need to be on the line, which brings me back to some of my favorite time periods, which were happening because of the World Boxing Super Series. There wasn't always a belt on the line there, but the fights were fantastic, and the Super Six back in the day as well. So he's basically putting together people who want to fight. How he's doing it? Money. Is it working? Yes.